Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Estate Right Now. We talk about real estate matters that matter to you. My name is Jay Izzo, and we are live here from Linda Craft Team Studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina, part of the Greater Research Triangle Park. No, he's not tired, nor is he bored, but he is Paul Fitts, and he rejoins us today to talk about something on the show. And I'll reintroduce him later on into the show. So we have a bit of a, I don't know if it's a crisis, but maybe it is a crisis. Certainly is a concern for many people, and that is that our housing markets across the country are what we would call in a recession or depression because there's just not a lot of housing available, and that's causing a lot of pressure on a number of things. One, when you have low availability in the law of supply and demand, prices go up, which we are seeing across the board. Prices continue to go up as we have low inventory. We have a lot of people who are not interested in selling their homes because they have a low interest rate, and so they're choosing to stay at home, which is causing pressure, again, on not having a lot of resales. We have higher interest rates. This is causing, again, more pressure, but not just on the home buyer. These interest rates are also affecting builders. And so they're not building nearly as quickly as they can as well. So we are seeing a little bit, not a little bit, maybe a lot of bit of a depression among other factors. So, and you're experiencing everywhere you're at too. You would probably love to sell. It's just that you probably are reluctant to do it because you got a low interest rate, and where do you go, right? And that's the same thing for many people. If you're a first-time home buyer, you're probably going, I don't even know how to get into this market because there's nothing available. So what can we do? Well, one of the things we try to do on the show is we try to raise awareness about possibilities in addition to informing you and educating you about what's going on in real estate, because we want to have people go, oh, that's an idea. Maybe you could take it to your local municipalities and the people who are in the know and make some changes. So today, what we have done is I brought back Paul Fitts. Now, typically you know him as a senior mortgage loan officer for Advantage Lending. That's who you typically see him for. But I'm interviewing him more on what he is also doing, and that is he is a mayoral candidate for the city of Raleigh. And he has got a lot of proposed, some really unique ideas. And we felt that they would be appropriate to share some of his ideas. And even he may even have some places where some of these ideas may have been already starting to happen. And we want to talk about that. So before we get any further, Paul, welcome back.
How you doing, brother?
Good
to see you, man.
Now, what you don't know is him and I have had a heated debate for the show. So
we're on it
if
right now.
If we're a little out of breath or we're a little flush, we've been arguing.
Somebody lost,
but it's
saying names.
Okay. Again, no need for that. So anyway, Paul, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Because you're in this world on a number of levels. One is you've been a professional mortgage lender for 25 years.
Yeah.
Your wife is a real estate professional.
My hot wife is a real estate professional.
Okay, yeah. I'm not going to go there, but that's fine. I think that's appropriate for you.
Yeah, I love my hot
and you're also have thrown your hat in the political arena.
Oh, yeah.
As a mayoral candidate for here in Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're also a native here.
Yeah, Raleigh born.
So if as far as this city goes, you know it probably as well as anyone because we're pretty transient
right
here in terms of a lot of people like
that's
myself.
A word to use too, by the way. Yeah.
Well, I'm not local, but I've been here over 30 years.
You're local-ish?
Yeah. Well, I'm not native. How about this? I'm not native, but I'm local.
Okay.
So being here 30 years. So I've seen a lot of changes in Raleigh. You've seen far more
drastic
growing up here.
Yeah.
So what are some ideas that you have, regardless of the city that people live in?
Sure.
What are some things that maybe we could do to maybe get some more housing into the marketplace? And I'm not talking about rentals here.
Right.
Where we're talking about, because we got first-time home buyers who are sitting on the sidelines begging to get in.
Oh, yeah.
And they can't because the entry is too high. What are some ideas that we can do?
So one of the things I said on the earlier show for you, and it triggered you on a different conversation we had, I said, you can't make housing affordable unless you make it available.
Sure.
And I've said it other times, and now people are like, okay, I don't understand what you mean. I mean, it's simplistic supply and demand. I mean, that's all it is. And the demand has way outweighed the supply. So what you need to do in these kind of situations are you look for underperforming properties that already exist. One of the things that you can do if you go to North Hills and you look, Midtown, forgive me again from here. So if you go to North Hills and you look into the downtown landscape and you notice the Beltline, the Beltline has a lot of flat area inside of it. In other words, it's one story and that's it. It's complete. So in a growing population, you would call those underperforming areas, because when your population is growing, you should be growing up almost as much as you're growing out. All right. And we're not doing that. And we haven't really, the city of Raleigh hasn't really had a focus on it in 20 plus years. They're starting to play catch up downtown. But I will tell you, the majority of the properties that they're building up now are just rentals. They're just, in my opinion, rentals are a sign of being transient, that your workforce, that you want people to be here. But unless you're building homes or you're building townhomes or condos or row homes, when you're building those, you're telling people you want them to live here long term. If you're building a transient property, then you're basically saying, hey, right now we want our workforce to be here, but they could shift. And if they do, then we have a bunch of vacant commercial space, and that's not good for any city.
Okay. So when we're talking about non-rental properties,
right?
Or housing, whether that's condo, townhome, duplex, triplex, whatever,
row home, whatever
it may be that people can live in.
Yep.
All right. So we're having a problem building these things right now. It seems like we are anyway. It seems like it's a little bit of a struggle because it's a little costly for builders.
Materials, everything
is just inflated. And so builders are having a hard time. And I think they're having some difficulties with some loans and things like that too.
Yeah, right. The commercial market is a little stretched right now. The commercial loans for commercial developers and real estate projects are starting to come due. And when those start to come due, you're going to see some significant changes in what builders are doing or developers are doing, which kind of leads me back to why we should be building what I call a 30-year fixed contract. When people build commercial properties, their goal really is to know that they're going to focus on 10-year leases. They really and truly just focus on 10-year leases. And the math doesn't always add up to me because I'm a mortgage lender. When I talk about the 30-year contract, that means ownership. If somebody buys into a property, they want ownership. They want to be there. They want to help pay the taxes. They want to spread the love, right? So in saying this, the payout is so much better for developers if they build homeowner properties because they're getting paid out. If they sell a condo for $300,000, they have 100 of them. Right. They're selling all these products. They're basically recouping all their costs, and yet at the same time they can make HOA dues. You see it in several places downtown now. I think the biggest problem is the factor of land. Developers feel like they don't have enough land to build on. There are a lot of people in our downtown area who own properties, but even though they own properties, they're not exactly rich people. They own properties. They rent their little properties out. They're making enough money to pay the taxes on those properties every year. But they're older, and do they want to feel like they want to get out there and develop their plaza and make it a high rise? They're just not into that. And at the same time, since they don't have the money to do it and they don't want to go through it, they still want to leave something behind for their family. But at the same time, it's underutilized property that we have. So it's trying to get people to understand how to use the properties we have and make it a highest and best use.
All right. So let's talk about the properties that we do have.
Yep.
And how we can use some of the properties we do have, because I think people want to know, okay, well, what could we do? What might be an option in my city or town that could bring in more residential real estate housing purchase, maybe at a price point that could be more affordable to a first-time home buyer.
Right.
So what are some ideas that you've thought about?
These are ideas that I've discussed with members of the General Assembly. A few years ago, Raleigh purchased a plot of land. It was called Dorothea Dix. If they don't know about Dorothea Dix, it was a mental hospital for over 100 years, and the campus is 300 acres. And the city of Raleigh purchased that land. And instead of doing several things, they could have had low-income housing designated on the property, as well as mixed-use development, and they could have still had a park. But they chose just to turn the 300 acres into a park, and that's what it's going to be. The members of the General Assembly, when they sold it, they were kind of told it was going to be a little bit more mixed use, and it's not. And they felt jaded by that. When I approached the General Assembly about removing the prisons out of downtown Raleigh, it sparked some interest, and they wanted to know why. And my basic premise to them was, hey, Raleigh needs more downtown livable space. The prisons, the women's prison takes up 189 acres inside the Beltline. Central Prison takes up 44 acres inside the Beltline. These are non-tax properties because they're state-owned. So if you turn those into livable space, livable taxable space, not only can you do things for the city of Raleigh, such as pay police officers. What a shock, right? You can pay police officers, firefighters, the garbage men. You can pay people more. But more importantly, if you have people living downtown 24/7, these are people that will bolster the businesses that are there. Businesses like Clyde Cooper's Barbecue, which was established in 1938, is leaving downtown Raleigh.
Yeah, saw that.
Because our workforce has shifted out of downtown Raleigh. The primary workforce in downtown Raleigh was government for 80 years. And ever since 2020, when the pandemic hit, 20 to 25% of the workforce has now become remote. They're working from home. They're not coming downtown. They're not spending their money at the lunch counters. So it's a problem for the economy in general.
Right. No.
So if you take underutilized properties such as the prisons and you turn those into livable spaces, you bolster your downtown, you help your businesses, and you make that area more livable. And the odds are the people that will live there will be younger people. You can start price points in the 300,000 range, which would help out a lot of people at that point.
So I can hear people screaming and yelling, although they're not doing that through here because I'm looking for comments and they're not. But I can hear them in my head. Not that I hear voices, but somebody's saying, well, what are you going to do with the prisons? Where are you going to put those?
So the state of North Carolina decommissioned 3 prisons over the last 5 years.
Okay.
I did my research, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
So the state of North Carolina decommissioned 3 prisons over the last 5 years. Their excuse or their primary concern was we didn't have enough prisoners. So I'm like, why do you have prisoners living in the most expensive real estate in the state when you could have been moving prisoners to Halifax County or Pasquotank County or someplace where the land is extremely cheap?
Right.
So they saw the deficiency. They've discussed it, but they're not willing to move forward with the current mayoral position or if the next candidate happens to be a Democrat. So therefore they want to work with a Republican on this.
All right. So
I know, shameful plug. I know.
Okay. Idea.
Yep.
Downtown prisons.
Yep.
Convert that.
Yep.
All right. You've also talked about another idea, which I have found really intriguing. And this is vacant commercial space.
Yeah. Vacant commercial space.
So talk to us about vacant commercial space and the ideas that you have thought about, because I think this is really intriguing. And I don't understand why we're not doing it. So go ahead.
Well, so cities like New York, they've petitioned to have anywhere between 40 to 60 high-rise buildings that have been office space forever since their inception. They are trying to get those properties to be converted to livable space, and they want them to be condos primarily. Now, yes, they would like to convert some to apartment complexes as well, but condo space, again, it's an infusion of cash when you sell your condo space, whatever the number is. In New York, if you buy one of those properties, it'd probably be $5 to $6 million. It's an infusion of cash. And then you also have people paying HOA dues every month. It's a viable option for a lot of commercial properties. It's just a matter of, do the developers want to take the time to figure out how to make it work. A lot of people will always say, well, is there enough headspace? Is there enough space that we can run pipes and make bathrooms in these areas and kitchens in these areas? The retrofitting idea is a little bit difficult for a lot of developers to swallow. But honestly, these properties are built with the headspace in mind that they can get this done. It's just a matter of will.
So this is the thing that's intriguing about it. And I also think I could see why it could be difficult, certainly to convert these spaces over, because the conversion process is a little bit. But part of the process is also how difficult would it be to change the zoning for how difficult is that? I mean,
if you have the right city council, I think you can get it done.
Well, I mean, I think, right, you have to
vote in November.
Okay, so I think there is, this thing of, depending on the location, it may be more difficult to change zoning in some spaces than others, but there clearly is a lot of empty commercial space that is available. And I'm going to take High Point, North Carolina, something that I've seen done. Now, this isn't exactly residential, but they've taken a mall.
Yeah. So we talked about that. Remember when we used to go there for the jazz festival?
Yeah.
So and it was pretty interesting. The last time we stayed at that was a Marriott Courtyard right there beside the mall.
Yeah.
So last time we stayed there, Joel and I decided to walk around the mall, and it was a ghost town in this mall. There were like 2 or 3 shops open, and the courtyard had a couple of places too. And one of the big box was still open. And we walked around. I said, this would be a great place to just build condos using the existing building and build condos. Now, what are they doing? Are they doing this?
So part of it is that they've turned them into laboratories for High Point University.
Oh, for the university. Okay. Makes sense.
But so, I mean, they're utilizing the space in a different way, but there is no reason, because every one of those places has some sort of water, right? Sure.
Yep.
I mean, think about it. When you build a mall,
even the sprinkler system, there's water everywhere. Yeah.
Well, and you have bathrooms in every place.
Yep.
Right. They have
everyone
has one private bathroom and sinks and stuff like that. So water's already there.
It should be.
Right. Air is already there.
Yep.
Right. So you actually have really pretty much everything there at these malls. And we've got a lot of malls, by the way, that are
dying.
Well, if not almost dead.
So, and one of the things that happened in the city of San Francisco, which really, really ticked me off, San Francisco has one of the highest homelessness rate in the entire country. And they've had a serious crime wave in the city of San Francisco as well, probably because they're not doing a lot of policing. They're allowing people to walk into stores in California and just take $1,000 worth of clothes and walk out, which is insane to us, but it's normal to them. But they literally shuttered a mall because the mall was getting robbed so much that the stores just said, "Hey, we've had enough. We're out of here." So now there's a completely vacant mall. And I'm like, well, if you have a homeless problem, what a great way to house homeless people by taking this huge facility and house people so you can help them transition to a way that maybe they can get jobs and then they can become productive citizens, right?
Yeah.
No, that's not what the San Francisco City Council saw. They want to demolish the mall and turn it into a soccer stadium. That's their idea of taking care of their homeless problem in San Francisco. That would not be what I would do if I were the mayor.
Well, because we need housing, and we don't have here in this area. We don't have
as much
home. Well, we don't have nearly as much of the homeless issue. I mean, we do have homeless.
Yep.
Let's not
tent cities. We got them.
Let's not say we don't, but we don't have nearly. I mean, I was in New Orleans a month ago,
right? And
they literally have uprooted homeless and moved them, and there's so many, that they've uprooted them, and now they're living under the bridges, and they're
doing it here too.
I mean, we literally were the old cities were the homeless cities. There used to be homeless cities under the bridges, and then because they're getting a Super Bowl,
that's okay.
So all of that is moved,
right?
And my friend who lives down there said, they've moved all of them moved them over,
right?
And so it's tremendous, and you're like going, but there's all this vacant commercial space,
commercial space,
and they could be doing. I mean, even if you're not converting them into condos or townhomes or whatever you want to do with those, right? Gosh, you have an opportunity here to turn it into an full educational facility that could help these folks move to the next level. I think it's possible. And so, I mean, that's an interesting idea. And I think people could take that idea with them as well as, why are we not pushing the commercial space piece to make that happen?
We have facilities throughout the entire state. We have manufacturing facilities that have been vacant for 20 years. There's nothing going on with these facilities. And I'm not saying that they're completely safe right now at this moment, but we've rehabbed the cotton mill in downtown Raleigh to become a livable space. We've rehabbed Carolee Mills, which again was another factory. We've rehabbed so many factories that are over 100 years old. To sit here and say that we could not rehab a building that's 25 or even 30 years old to make it livable space is insane. It's completely viable. It's a great option to do.
Right. Well, isn't some of that space that was part of the old creamery and some of the older commercial buildings, isn't some of that space that then they convert that into some of those into condos as well? Isn't some like
some of them?
They put some. Yep. Like, I mean, there's a business below, but then they've got
the mixed use.
They got mixed use.
That's right.
Mixed use space, right?
Yeah.
Which doesn't that alone? I mean, because that creamery is how many 100 years old?
100 years, yeah, okay. 80, 100, yeah.
Okay, so, but doesn't that speak to the possibility?
It should
that we have, if we can make that mixed use,
correct,
where we can have a business and we can have people living in the same space. By the way, isn't that what we've been building? Isn't what we're building currently where we're building ground floor businesses, and then we're putting people on top of it?
The majority of mixed use that we're doing in this city, I don't know about a lot of cities, but the majority of mixed use that we're doing is still apartment above.
Right.
And I really wholeheartedly believe that as many developers as possible, you really do need to think about converting to condos. The biggest reason why is because you're taking a cash infusion back once you build this property out. You're collecting homeowners dues forever and ever. Amen. When that person sells it, they're going to have a little bit of equity. You still have the entirety of the property. Yeah, you may have to pay somebody out one day, but that could be a business plan 20, 40 years down the road.
Well, and we're about done with our time here, but
crap.
I know it goes really fast. We thought this was going to be a hard show to do. It really wasn't that hard. I
got called 20 minutes.
You don't understand. We put how fast that this was put together, but it became a really great topic because it was really interesting. But I think the fact that we have seen across the country that what we're building now currently can exist in existing properties that are out there.
Absolutely.
And we don't have to necessarily tear anything down. We can just convert it from the inside out, provided it's structurally sound.
Correct. As long as it's structurally sound, as long as there's no asbestos that needs to be remediated.
Right.
I mean, you'll hear about all these, all these things. Oh, we have to do this and this and this. If we're converting mills that are over 115 years old and we're turning those into livable spaces, we can do it with anything.
Yeah.
It may take time and energy and materials, but we can do it, and it can still be a viable property for people to again, help bolster the areas that need the economic development, especially with the economic shift that's happened.
I just had I don't know if it's a bold thought,
epiphany,
but it's kind of an interesting thought. Listen, I think recycling is important to do because I think it's just the right thing to do.
Right.
Why are we recycling buildings?
Why aren't we recycling buildings?
Why are we not recycling buildings so that people can have a place to live?
Yeah, it shouldn't be a difficult. It should not be a difficult thing to talk about, much less be a difficult task. It's just a matter of will.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, we're telling people to recycle your plastic. Why don't we recycle buildings?
If you feel like housing is difficult right now, I want to remind everybody, this is not political, but over the last 4 years, we've had millions of people come into the country. You know, whether you want to call it legal, what illegal, whatever, it doesn't matter. We've had millions of more people come into the country. Everybody's going to want a house. Everybody's going to want a place to live.
Right.
So if you think it's difficult now, imagine once we have 10 million people settled into the country that where they're going to have to make a decision on can they buy, will they buy, things of this nature. You can't ignore the fact that our population is growing one way or the other. We're
Right.
going to have housing for everybody. We should start with commercial spaces.
I agree.
Yeah.
This has been fun, and
Yeah.
I think it's been interesting. I think it's been enlightening for people, and
Hope it's educational.
I think it's extraordinarily educational. Good luck in the Raleigh mayoral.
I'll be back.
You will,
Yeah.
whether you win or lose. You're going to be back here anyway, probably sooner than you think.
Give me one more week. But you never know.
But thank you for doing
You're
this.
welcome, brother.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
folks, it's show. As I say to you, listen, you had a lot of choices. You chose us. Thank you very much for watching us on DBTV. Thanks for watching us on Saturday mornings. We appreciate you doing that. Listen, give us a thumbs up on YouTube channel. We'd love that. If you're listening to us by podcast, wherever you're listening, give us a positive review. Feel free to contact us too. You can just go to our Facebook page. It's called Real Estate Right Now Show. Go to our Facebook page, contact us. Let us know what you'd like to hear. We'd love to hear from you. As I say to you all over the world, you know what that is. Ciao, everybody.